Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome to AFX Studio. This is part 2 of my investigation into amplifier coupling capacitors, or caps. We're going to listen to different brands and construction types in the same amp and hear if they change the tone and particularly the tone quality of the amp. At this point I should remind you that there are lethal voltages inside valve or tube amps, and those voltages remain even after the amp has been turned off. Having had around 450 volts or so from a filter capacitor discharge into my hand when I was in high school a couple of times, I can highly recommend keeping your hands out of them. And that was with the amp turned off too. If it had been on, I may not be here now. So while they're quite simple circuits, they can be very deadly. So don't go messing around with them. While doing the burn-in test for the other video, I thought I should make the most of it and actually compare the sound of coupling capacitors as well. There are a wide range of capacitors available to be used in valve or tube amps that in theory, assuming they are the same value capacitance, should do exactly the same job. Now some brands or construction types claim to have superior tonal qualities to others, or even just to sound more authentically vintage. Now the price difference can be quite extreme between these. As with most things in life, and I think musicians are particularly aware of this, that after a certain point, things don't get much better without spending significantly more money. But of course, spending more money doesn't necessarily make it for a better product. There can be all sorts of reasons why something costs more that don't necessarily translate to a better sound. So let's find out how these different capacitors sound. For this test, I used my other champ and set it up so I could easily change the coupling capacitors and record the results. The only thing changing is the pair of capacitors. All are the same 0.022 microfarad value. I ran the champ into my quad box, set at 4 ohms, thinking the 12-inch speakers might reveal more than the usual 8-inch speaker in a champ. So here are 9 sets of capacitors, 7 pairs of polyester type construction and 2 pairs are oil based. And I'll let you know what we're listening to afterwards so that we're not biased by what we expect should sound better or worse. That clip was longer, but I cut off the last section as it was affecting how I was hearing the rest of it. So here's the last section by itself. The clips are in the same order. I'm going to play that first clip again and put up what model capacitor we're listening to. Okay, so that surprised me slightly. There were differences, but not as pronounced as I was expecting. Now, the Illinois capacitors, which are the cheapest ones I had, came out of my 68 Princeton reverb reissue that I rebuilt with Sozo and Sprague capacitors. Unfortunately, I didn't record the before and after, but there was probably a 5% or so improvement in tone after I rebuilt it. That's based on side-by-side comparisons with other amps that I've owned and used for years. That's about right, 5% improvement. The amp already sounded great, which is of course why I bought it in the first place. At this point, I'm assuming the cumulative effect of going through more capacitors in the Princeton circuit compared to the 2-inch champ, along with the better electrolytic filter capacitors I used in the rebuild, was the reason for the noticeable difference. So while doing the burn-in tests with the 5V3 style deluxe in the other video, I thought I should try some different types of capacitors to see if there actually was more of a difference when the signal was passing through a greater number of them. So this is the 5V3 deluxe style amp with 4 complete different sets of coupling capacitors. Okay, so more of a difference there. The generic ones sounded a bit coarse alongside the others. Even then, they didn't sound terrible, just not as good. Not much between the first three, but the Jupiter set does sound, a little smoother, but it's pretty negligible. So based on these tests, I feel confident in saying that there is definitely a difference between different brands and types of capacitor, but it's not, a major difference. When I was doing the break-in test for the other video, I tried the old null test, where you line up two clips and then you invert the polarity of one, and if they're the same wave, but when they're reversed, cancels out to zero. And if they're not, whatever's left is the difference between them. And while doing that and trying to make sense of what I was hearing, it occurred to me to try recording the amp, straight away twice and then null those. And what was interesting was not only did it not cancel out, it didn't cancel out any more than the other ones did, even some of the ones where I actually tried nulling out two different clips with different capacitors in them. So a valve amp really is an organic, living, breathing instrument. So hopefully this helps shed some light on what you're getting with the capacitors in your amp. The caps are of course just one part of the circuit, and every part of a tube amp influences the sound. So thanks for watching, please like and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you soon.